Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Hey, everybody. I'm Molly Carmel.
I'm Clarissa Kennedy.
And I'm Molly Paintshaw.
We are your food shrinks. We are three eating disorder and addiction therapists who are real life friends. We walk the walk, we talk the talk, and we're here to share honest, funny, and unfiltered conversations that we have when no one's recording, except today we're recording. So, MP, you got the topic today. It's a great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So somebody wrote, "Hey, I'm still processing grief over the foods I choose not to eat anymore. Overall, I'm happy with my food. Social situations and celebrations are trickier." And so I think we need to talk about grief over the foods. But when I read this, I thought we could go a lot deeper because there's a lot of grief and grieving in the process of recovery. And so, yeah, I want to throw it back to you too and just see where you're at on this topic.
Yeah, I think what we find often among our community, and I know something that I really struggled with in the beginning was like all those lost years, right?
Mm.
Loss of those like opportunities, loss of health, time, self-trust, where it was just like going from, either one treatment center to another, one fix, one doctor, so like all the time with people and family and stuff that matters that you never were really present for because you were so in your addiction. I think that always feels so big for all of us. And I know that's the thing, if I look, it's like that's like me from like 18 to like 34, which is a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
And so, now I'm in a place where I've been able to come to terms with it, but it still comes up. When especially if I hear like, "Oh, the 20s were the best time of my life," like, that wasn't my experience.
Yeah. That's really funny. That made me snort. Um, yeah, I really, I had an incredibly hard time with this. I mean, I feel like with the food, I had such a bottom with it that I almost didn't have time to grieve it. Like I was just about to lose everything. And so I was just like kind of like blinders on, get it done. And I don't know, it's probably just grace. I got lucky, but you know, that, and every now and then I want to say, I really do miss. Are we allowed to say food on this show? I
Yeah.
really do miss a soft serve ice cream. I mean,
Mhm.
I really just want to say that. I do. I miss it. I miss it. I wish I could have it. I know that I want the whole thing and I want 7 of them and I wouldn't do it. But like I do. I really do miss that. In the summer. You can always count on that. And I think in that way, just again, like with some time like that, I can always say if someone's eating that, I'm going to say, God, I wish I could have that. Well, I don't, the way I want to eat it isn't blah, 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 blah. And I do remember an OA meeting in the beginning of my recovery because I was dark in this one. I was dark in regret. And the woman said, uh, this is a bit of a rigid way, but I'm just quoting her directly, but sort of every day we're abstinent, we make amends to ourselves for the days that we weren't. And it sat with me, right? It sat with me like I could live in the past and gosh, I mean, this thing stole. I mean, I could weep saying it, right? Like this thing stole from me. This addiction stole from me since I'm 7 years old till I'm 34. Stole from me. Stole education. Stole friendships. Stole and terrorized my life. And I'm not a quick changer, but that woman giving me the opportunity to kind of put my focus into the future was really helpful. And I think it was helpful to hear it in a room of people, not all, but where some people were like, yeah, like I'm really living this great life and it's really possible. And that's like us.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something?
No, no, I mean that just resonated so deeply with me because if I think about, these years I've had in recovery, I remember so much and I've done so much living in
I mean,
each.
you guys live like there's no tomorrow. Like you and Molly live like there's no like I get tired thinking about how you guys live. It's amazing.
said to Molly on vacation, I'm like, I'm 45. I was like, we have 45 more years of this.
Yeah.
We can do this 45 more times.
You
Like,
guys live
that's
like, yeah.
absolutely what I believe.
You should follow them on Instagram and Facebook just to watch how they travel. I'm like a luxury, I just want to be like sleeping and laying on a beach. That's not true, but kind of is true also. But yeah, you guys really take that living amends very seriously, is all I'm saying.
But I think it speaks to your point, what the both of you have been saying, like how much like was taken from us. And I think, not only do we grieve, like the negative things that happened to us, but we also grieve the things that didn't happen that
Yeah.
probably should have happened for us, right? And so all of that, I think culminates into now we're just 20 something years old, whatever. And we're like trying to cope with life and parents have said, okay, there's the door, whatever it might be. And we're trying to be these quote adults because, in the US, and in Canada too, I think, right? 18 is like
Mhm.
you're a legal adult, and so it's like now you have to make all these decisions for yourself and really you're not actually prepared to do any of that. Not really, not in the sense that now at 42 years old I look back going, oh my god, I was such a baby. I thought that I was so grown and I thought I was, because I had to be, I did have to make decisions for myself, as did the two of you, I'm sure. Right. And so, yeah, that, that it is, I just want to normalize the grieving part of it, that not is it just, not only just about like those specific foods that were probably like, comforting and your friend and they were always there for you and, whatever came along with like that relationship to those specific things. But, that we're also grieving letting go of that version of us that held on to those stories. We just did the episode on I'm too much or not enough. Like that becomes bound up in like who we believe ourselves to be. And so like shedding some of that, that there's going to be anger about like it's not fair because I can't have that food because when I was 7, something whatever or whatever it might be and they can have it and I can't have it, or even just, the stories that we can tell ourselves of like, well, I've been good long enough, like maybe a little bit wouldn't hurt, but it's like this, it's this staying to your point, Molly, like, do I want to stay tethered to the past, anchored in the past, or do I want to live my life going forward? And I think that is part of the reason why I live my life that way. Like there's, that meme out there that's like, you like end at your, when you go to your grave, like kick, be kicking and screaming or something to that point. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like I want to have the wild hair and like kicking and screaming. Like I'm not done yet. I'm having so much experience, so many experiences and so much fun and so much love and so much pain and so much whatever, but that's like a human experience.
Mhm.
And I really feel like I was robbed of a lot of things for many different reasons. I try not to live my life from that like that victim perspective. Today it's definitely something again that I work on all the time. But I really try to look at it as like Clarissa was saying, like we have 45 more years of doing this. Like come on, like we can be there in the past and be sad, and get stuck in it, or we can be sad and be doing our life and like find our way through it. So I don't know. I personally, I personally actually have a lot of respect for the grieving process in recovery.
Yeah, I was thinking about my ice cream cone too, and it's like there's this amazing yoga teacher, very famous yoga teacher named Anna Forrest, and she always says like, don't let your feeling become a story, right? And it's like, because like, yeah, like I'm sure when I gave up sugar, I was like, well, this sucks, like because I was binging on everything that had sugar and flour that existed. Like the bodega really took a hit that quarter, when I decided to stop doing that. And I think when I have like that longing for that ice cream cone, I just think of it as a feeling and it just doesn't become a story. So I'm not like, and I can never have, I'm just like, my life is too big to like go down and like eat it, And by the way, I want to say for those of you listening, if I did have an ice cream cone, let's just say that happened. The world would not end and I would get right back up and I'd figure it out. And I'd be like, I don't believe in any of that on food drinks. And I think I could speak for the three of us. Like, that's not our vibe. And so I'm not like demonizing an ice cream cone, or if I took a bite, I'm just kind of using that as an example. But yeah, I think that that's the thing. Like if we, it's I would make an assumption that this person is saying like, I really want this freedom. I really want this recovery, which we're all saying, which you guys are saying like, hey, we got this freedom recovery. We're going to ride that like we rode our addiction, like giddy up, And so it's really normal to miss all those foods, right? The problem is when we create an entire story around it, because I hate when people say thoughts become things. Up in my top 10 most hated things that people say, because it's not true. But repeated thoughts become beliefs, and beliefs become behaviors. So if you're just chronically being like, I miss this, it's like, it's normal to miss, like, if you're like, I don't know, it's normal to miss your substance. If you didn't miss your substance, you wouldn't have an addiction. Like,
Right. And I would also say, like, what are you actually missing? Is it like you were saying, Molly, is it like the feeling in the story is I can only have that feeling when it's paired with that substance, because I would say the experience I probably miss the most is not food. It's like alcohol, and it's like sangria on the patio with my friends at summer, and we're connecting and we're laughing and like, having this like best amazing time. I still have all of that now without the sangria. It was just like the story
hold
is
on a second. Molly, did you hear that? It was
Yeah.
that it
What?
muddled in mine.
Oh no, I heard everything.
Oh
Yeah.
fuck, I'm so sorry, guys.
That's
Well, at
okay.
least
That's all good.
okay. Yeah,
okay.
but that like I think that that's our story, right? Is that all
Right.
of these things are only possible with the substance. But now I have connection and I hang out with people all the time without substance. I get all of these new experiences with travel. Like we just find them in different ways. And so we have to really even challenge what we are grieving sometimes too
In
when
better
it does
ways.
come to
In
those.
better ways, because you're
Yeah.
not at the end of it being like, oh, I'm back here again. Like you guys are like, and here's where our next trip is. And I made these new, like, there, it's just that nurturing and that nourishment that we really need. But again, like, so normal
Mhm.
to not be thrilled about not eating sugar when you're giving it up.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is where I probably differ the most from you two, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know, but like, I really try to make friends with the dark, and so when we write a
It's really
story that
one of the most beautiful parts of you.
it's I don't know how else to like survive this life at this point. Like I don't really know how else to do it if I don't do that. And so like this idea that grief is somehow bad too, right? Like we don't want to shame that grief is happening. We don't want to shame ourselves. We don't want to shame somebody else. Like grief is absolutely a part of the recovery process. And if the story we write is that this is somehow bad and wrong and I'm weak and I shouldn't be feeling this way, that just right intensifies and like just anchors that issue in further instead of saying, I can be grieving and like I can have these feelings of grief, whatever goes along with that, anger, sadness, shame, whatever, all of those things. And I can be living this life over here and they don't have to match. And that's okay. Like those things can actually like coexist in a way that doesn't impact my life to the point where I'm not getting out of bed or I'm not, whatever. Like it doesn't have to go into like these deep, awful places where like now I can't ever get out of this hole and I'm not in recovery because I'm grieving this like that. I also want to like just make that known too, that it can be a beautiful part of all of this.
Grieving is like the most probably we do this grief letter in
Yeah, we did
foundations.
breaking up with sugar also. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is actually the most connecting that happens in that when people read their grief letter to their substance or their food, whatever it is, every single person in that group is nodding their head. People are also crying. Like it is a really deeply connecting, intimate experience that we can all have together in this. And that's why I think community is so important in recovery because we are all grieving this together.
So true. The title chapter in my book, Breaking Up with Sugar, is called like, You're Not Going Crazy, You're Just Grieving. Like But it's so true because that's in the beginning. It's just like you just think like there's something wrong. Like that's what I guess what I'm trying to say too. I mean, Molly, I do think one of like your top qualities is just how cozy you are with like the bad stuff. I think it's amazing. Like you just are such like a little Buddhist over there. I love it. But and I think like there's nothing again, like you just wouldn't be in the position if you didn't have a big grief in you. You just be like, okay, I stopped doing this thing and all is well. And that's just usually not who we're talking to on food shrinks. You wouldn't want to hang out with us if you were like, yeah, so I stopped eating sugar. My mom's kind of like that. My mom's like just a food addict, like without a eating disorder. And she was like, yeah, I just like stopped. I read your book and I stopped eating sugar and flour. And like, it's just so much better now. And I'm like, what is that like? And how did you birth me? Like, this is wild. She's like, it's just so much better now. And I'm like, still missing an ice cream cone. Not that I'm shaming myself for that.
Right. No, but it's just reality, right? It's like I think I
Yeah.
can you can hold space to miss it and love the life you're living now at the same time.
Yeah. I get like, oh, and really, and I think the thing is, summer is always the time I'm
Hmm.
most liable to want something that everybody's doing. And usually it's honestly like much more than Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'm just usually like in communal things where like everybody like they always have these like special things. And you know, I even think when my life is like when I'm top notch on everything, I'll still have a craving. And I don't think a craving or a missing or a longing is always a pathology. I just don't.
Mm.
Oh,
It's
Molly is into that.
No,
it,
I love that because, it can be I mean, it's like social cueing, it's circadian rhythms, it's seasonal, it's all of these things and
You know
yes.
the one where Michael Moss wrote in his book Hooked, where it's like you eat like the Dunkaroos when you're sick. When he wrote that in the book, he wrote this book like about how ultra processed food is so addictive that if you think about it, my mouth's watering as I say Dunkaroos, by the way. Like you take your kid to the baseball game forever. The hot dog is now associated with
Mhm.
your dad and loving. I mean, it's just so much deeper than having shame over the grief. Like it's so chemical and it's
Yeah.
so neurological and it's so, it's all the systems.
It's all
Yeah.
of those things. I
I
read
don't
this
even
really. Oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Clarissa. Go
No,
ahead.
I was gonna say I don't even like pumpkin pie, but it's Thanksgiving here in Canada this coming weekend, and like I'm like, oh, there's gonna be pumpkin pie. Like I never even liked pumpkin pie, but I still, it's like the experience of the pumpkin pie with the whipped cream and all of that, and it's just so interesting how it's just a part of family, of celebration, of connection, of
Mhm.
belonging again, which is so much bigger, right? And so
Tradition,
grieving
all of
the
those things.
belonging
The
too.
Mm-hmm.
ultra everything about it. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally. So
Uh,
anyway, where are we with take? I have so many
well,
takeaways. I might need to go last.
Well, we before we get to that, though, really
Oh,
quick, Molly, what you were sharing made me think of like when you were saying like it's so much deeper than that, right? Like so there's a reason why this is a biopsychosocial spiritual disorder,
yeah.
right? That it does go so much deeper than that. And it reminds me of this thing that I read where it talks about like what we're working on is not just like a quote bad habit, right? We're not going to learn a new habit in 21 days to like get over our quote bad habit. These are deeply ingrained patterns for many reasons, for survival, like literally blueprint survival, right? For survival because it felt like we were going to die in the situations we were in. It is biological because of the way that these things are made to mess with your brain. I mean, they call it the bliss point, right?
Mhm. Chemically induced,
Spiritual
by
and
the way.
emotional because
Yeah.
we use it to fill those big holes and those gaps. And again, like no shame at all. Like totally understand. I think it's just that reminder of like, it is definitely, again, it is definitely okay to still be working on this and struggling does not mean failing. So, you know, maybe that's my big takeaway from
Sure. I
this.
mean, it's
I'll use
mine
that as my
now.
takeaway.
We all have that one. Say it again because I just forgot it because I'm in perimenopause.
Just because you're struggling does not mean you're failing.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're learning something new. You too are living your life for the very first time. Like, give yourself some grace. Like the first time you learned how to walk or the first time you learned how to use a eating utensil or a writing utensil, right? Like you didn't get it correct the first time. Like it's really okay to struggle and keep going.
Yeah. And I think honestly, like to the very base of that question, like it probably means you're doing it right. I mean, to be missing the food, I mean, probably means you're doing it right. Like, unfortunately. And like, there's time. And I mean, usually I don't take my own statement as my takeaway, but it did drop down into me. But I do love that Anna Forrest thing of not letting a feeling become a story, because I just think in my own personal life, I really needed that. Not having, apropos to nothing we talked about today, I just needed that reminder today that feelings can be feelings and stories don't need to take over my life.
Mm-hmm. I think mine is like unacknowledged grief is actually more problematic than acknowledging we have grief around this.
So good.
Definitely. Oh, well, if you want to hear more about this topic or a topic similar to this or something else completely, please feel free to give us an email at asktheshrinks@foodshrinks.com.
Thank you so much for listening today. And if you found this episode helpful or inspiring, please hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our future conversations. And if you have a moment, we would be so grateful if you just leave us a review. It really helps others find the show and join our community of recovery and hope. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.